Master, and we're going to do a quick overview of the agenda for tonight. So can the Table Topics Master give us a rundown of what that role entails? Heather.
Oh.
Table Topics.
Yes. The Table Topics Master will give impromptu table topics that you'll speak on for 1 to 2 minutes. And this is really a great part of the meeting because sometimes you have to talk in an impromptu way, so it'll give everybody a chance to have practice with that.
All right, thank you, Heather. Our general evaluator for tonight is Tom. Tom, can you give us a rundown of the general evaluator's role?
The purpose of the general evaluator role is, just as it says, it's to evaluate the overall meeting itself and not any one thing in particular. Look at how the meeting goes along, whether it gets started on time, proceeds properly and smoothly, and just gives an overall evaluation at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Tom. And we also have a grammarian/counter, and that is going to be Justin for tonight.
Oh, I have a question. Are we not breaking? Is Gretchen handling the
Okay, so Gretchen will be our counter.
Okay.
So Gretchen, do you want to explain the counter role?
Yes. So I am the all counter, and that entails counting how many times each person is saying filler words such as so, and just to fill the time. I am counting those right now, and when we stand at the lectern to make a table topics presentation or other speech presentation, I will use the clicker on whoever is speaking unless they let me know that they do not want that to be done.
Thank you, Gretchen. And grammarian will be Justin.
Okay, so this is my first time serving as grammarian now that we've broken out the counter role from the grammarian. So the grammarian counts people using the word of the day, and the word of the day is a new one for me. It's chicanery. Chicanery? Chicanery. That's close. Okay. Which is the use of trickery to achieve a political, financial, or legal purpose. So in a sense, an underhanded person who schemes corruption and political chicanery behind closed doors. Also, I'll be listening to speeches and looking for grammatical mistakes, and I'll note any of those.
Okay, thank you, Justin. And the timer for tonight is going to be Sandra.
And my job as timekeeper is to listen to the speakers as they stand up to the lectern and give their speech. And I will time them or give them a notification of time by using these cards. Green will be for 5 minutes or 1 minute. The yellow or amber will be for 6 minutes or 1 minute and 30 seconds. And the red will be for 7 minutes or 2 minutes.
Thank you, Sandra, for detailed overview of the timer's role. That is all the roles that we have for tonight. So I now have the privilege to introduce our first speaker, and that is going to be Lawrence. And what's the title of your speech?
The title of the speech is Speech Basics, and it's from an advanced manual, and I forget which advanced manual it's from, but it's going to be about how to present a position, and what does it say on there? I forgot.
It says evaluation form, researching and presenting.
Researching and presenting. So the idea is to present the topic in a precise way with all of the proper research and so on. Okay, I'm going to start now. Good evening. My name is Lawrence Crompton. I'm going to give a speech tonight on speech basics. There are 3 parts to a speech. You have your opening, your body, and your conclusion. But that's not all, folks. There's actually more to it than that. The reality is, those are just things. What you really should be important in your speech is the 3 basics of how to create a good speech. The introduction, the body, the conclusion, those are just there. It's what you do with them that really counts. So I want to talk about the 3 speech basics, which are: grab the audience interest, keep their interest, and give them a memory. So, how do you grab the audience interest? Well, our first step is to know the audience. So if you're going to be speaking to a group, you have to spend a few minutes doing some research. Find out who they are. What is their demographic? What is the age group? What is it that they want to achieve in that group? Why are they there? Which brings us to the second point. Why are they here? Are they here because, well, my company says I have to do this. Well, if I don't do this, I'm not available for the next promotion. Or are they there because they really want to learn and to grow and to experience whatever that speaker is giving to them? I'm a professional instructor. I teach maritime subjects at the Sea School down in Balabatry. And many times I have people that are coming there because the Coast Guard says they have to have this course and their company paid for it, and they sleep through the whole course and wonder why they don't pass. But then you have those people that spend that $1,000 a week to sit there in their class out of their own pocket. And they come with their own pens, with their own paper, with their computer to take notes, with their mind open to learn as much as they can learn. So why are they here may make a big difference in how they perceive that particular presentation. And then you have to excite their interest. Get them excited. What is it that they want, and how am I going to give it to you? Draw them in. Draw them in. That way, when you give them the presentation, then they're going to be focused on what is that information that you're giving them. Second, keep their interest. How can you engage the audience? Well, one method is eye contact. Even in a large group, if you pick one person out of the audience and look at that person, everybody who's nearby is going to think you're looking at them. And even though they're off in the distance, there's a connection. And they feel that connection. Also, of course, you have to speak to them in a way that's going to keep them focused on that particular speech. You can do other things. You can ask questions, rhetorical, or you can have them actually answer them by raising hands or some other means. Another possibility, use your voice. When you use your voice, you can develop a better potential to see people. Now, how do you use your voice? You can modulate your voice. You can raise your voice to drag people in. Or you can lower your voice and lean into the audience so they think there's some kind of secret going on here. And I'm part of that group that's learning that secret. So you can use your voice. Use the pauses in your voice to create a greater experience. Use it like humor. Get people to laugh. When people laugh, they become a part of that group that's laughing. So if you can use a little bit of humor, just anything that brings a little bit of humor into the speech, that's going to help them to focus a little bit more. Create a memory. When people leave your speech, you want them to remember something about that speech. If you're motivating people to improve themselves, you want them to remember at least one thing that they can help to grow. If it's in your business, you want them to do one thing that's going to help your business to grow. So you always want to inspire your audience to find that one thing. Then, at the end of your speech, you again want to go through and summarize the things that you have spoken. In old-fashioned speech creation, they used to say that you tell people what you're going to tell them, then you tell them, and then you tell them what you've told them. You've used it 3 times to bring greater purpose. And finally, the last real memory they take is the call to action. Give them something that they can do in the future that's going to help them to move towards whatever goal it is that they are there for, that they brought you there for. So, in the end, folks, you want to be able to really bring your audience together. You want to bring them, you want to create an inspired experience. You want to maintain that inspired experience, and you want the people to go away with a memory. So please, go out, create that wonderful speech, and be the person that you want to be. Mr. Toastmaster.
Lawrence, for that great reminder of some tips and tricks for improving everyone's speech. I took away some things I might want to try to add to my next speech, and I'm sure a lot of us did as well. We're going to have a second speaker for tonight, so Heather, if you want to run a little longer on tabletop, feel free. I'll keep time and let's keep going until she's got what she needs. At this point, I will now introduce our tabletop master for tonight. That's going to be Heather.
Good evening, everyone. Could I maybe have a volunteer for the first question, or would you guys like me to? Okay, Tina, go. Would you rather be a worried genius or a joyful simpleton?
Thank you for this good question, Heather. My fellow Toastmasters and guests, I was asked if I would prefer to be a joyful simpleton or a worried genius. And that is a really tough decision to make, because I think probably a good boon of being a joyous simpleton is that I would not find myself engaging in chicanery or chicanery. I think it's chicanery. Yeah, chicanery.
Cane. Chicanery.
Hopefully this counts for word of the day. Moving on. But I do think a worried genius would engage in that type of behavior. So that is an upsetting weakness of being a worried genius. I honestly think I would prefer to be a worried genius because I'm already an anxious individual as it is. So, and that does count as a dog whistle moment.
There we go.
Ultimately, I think being a worried genius is where I'm most happy at right now. Mrs. Tabletop.
You got married.
Did I guess so? Alrighty. Cody. Would you rather lose all of your old memories or never be able to make new ones?
It's a good question. So I already do not think about my past too much. So when I go home and visit my parents and see some old pictures of myself, oh yeah, it's something I did or a time in my past. So losing my old memories I don't think would be that big of an issue for me. I guess I would lose some of the stuff I've learned and lessons learned, and maybe I'll have to repeat some mistakes. But I'm very future oriented, so I think if I couldn't think in that way, it would really kind of throw my personality and myself off balance. So if I had to make the choice and make the cut, I would cut out the old memories and hopefully not repeat too many stupid things that I've done in my past and learn from. And that's what I would do in that situation. Thank you, Heather.
If you could instill one piece of advice in a newborn baby's mind, what advice would you give? Do I have any volunteers? Sandra?
Okay, I'm asked if I would like to instill, or if I would instill something into a newborn child, what would it be? First of all, I would tell them they should have stayed where they came from. The world is a big oyster, and it can be whatever you choose it to be. If you want to be successful, you have to take your time, think about what you want to do, plan on what you want to do, and come up with a way to reach your goal. I would tell them that nothing in life is easy. I would tell them to be nice to everybody as much as possible that they can. I would tell them that there are many different genders in the world, so respect everyone's gender, respect everyone's nationality, do not disrespect anyone, and most of all, love people as much as possible. Thank you.
Maurice, if I could grant you one wish, what would you wish for?
Thank you, Heather. If she can grant me one wish, what would I wish for? I would wish for 1,000,000 wishes.
Can't really do that.
Okay. Well, besides avoiding any type of chicanery or getting involved in any type of chicanery, I would wish for something that Solomon in the Bible wished for. He did not initially wish for riches or for power, but he wished for wisdom. So wisdom is the beginning of, I forgot what the statement was, all things, or so if there's one thing I would wish for is wisdom.
I was actually going to give a speech tonight, but it's going to be rescheduled. But something I was really going to focus on is this idea of failure and how people kind of see failure. Your name's Charles.
Charles.
If we learn from our mistakes, why are we always so afraid to make a mistake?
Sometimes that can be painful. Obviously, Lawrence is the genius who is sometimes emotional about what he's doing. On the cutting edge to create new things like the speech tonight and tell you what he's learned, it's still good to have that bit of nervousness on how well you're going to do rather than being, oh, I got it, no problem. Yet also, he's a joyous simpleton because it was a very simple presentation with slides and he explained it. And that's the easiest way to convey your message without getting too complex scientific theories. I mean, he's a fantastic boat captain. He teaches it in a simple, clear way that people can understand. While at the same time, let's hope you remember those experiences because it seems like he's burned his forearm. Or their markers or something. And if that was a painful experience, let's hope he learned his lesson and he's not going to do it again. Or if he forgets the past, it's not going to be that painful next time. So with that, I'll hand it back over to you.
Tom, what do you love most about yourself?
Besides everything.
No. That's a really hard question because I typically don't think of myself in that way. But I guess if it's one thing that I like best about myself is that I really try to be open and accepting of everybody and try to see the good in everybody and try to help everybody to be the best that they can be. So it's the ability at least to try to lift others up, I think is my biggest asset. I give a lot of that credit to my wife because she's a doctor and that's something she's always done with her patients is spend time with them, listen to them, get to know them personally, and just help them in whatever way that you can and do it in a natural means as opposed to using drugs Diego and I were talking about earlier. So I learned that from my wife. It's just really listening to an individual and helping them in their journey in this life to move them along as best possible. That's what I think is my best. Thank you.
May I have a volunteer for this next question? Cheyenne?
Yes.
Is there ever a time when giving up makes sense?
Hello. I've been asked a question if there's ever a time where giving up makes sense. As I've previously spoken, I work with the homeless population, and we see this a lot where we see people that have given up, people who don't see a way to get out of their situation. One thing that I've learned from that, it does make sense. You see people who have the odds stacked against them, but at the same time, there's a balance to where there's people that have given up, but there's also people who are there to try to catch them, try to help them, and bring them back up from where they've fallen. I feel that when we go through certain things that are difficult over and over again, it can wear us down to a point where we don't feel like we can continue. But if you have a support system, you know where to go to get the resources and the help that you need, you can find a way to bring yourself out of that.
Jake, how much time do we have?
Yeah, we got about another 5 minutes.
Oh,
He's ready for the biggest question.
Justin?
Sure.
Okay. How have you helped someone else recently?
Fellow Toastmasters, I've been asked to talk about how I may have helped someone recently. And one of the things that I like to do in my work is I do like to coach. So I've been around a medium amount of time in the workplace now, and I have gained some experiences. And I think back to what it was like when I was a young engineer, more starting out, a little less experienced, dealing with new experiences, dealing with clients, dealing with technical issues. And I enjoy mentoring. And I try and do it in not too much of a condescending way. You have to be aware of that when you do some mentoring. but I like to share some knowledge, share some experience, and help my coworkers grow in their roles as employees. Thank you, Heather.
Could I ask a guest to volunteer, Miss Tiffany? Would you like to do one? You don't have to, but.
Can I hear the question?
Oh, sure, sure.
I'll use the guest card when I can.
Sure. What made you smile this week?
My name is Tiffany Huber, and I was asked the question, what made me smile this week? And the first thing that came to mind was the fact that I was asked the question, what made me smile this week? It seems that I'm in a room of very intelligent, self-conscious, but intentional people, and that's encouraging. It's nice to be in a room where it's encouraging, where you're encouraged and where each other is trying to help another learn. Thank you. 3, 4, 5.
I think I did 11 first when I was on stage.
Gretchen, would you like to do a tabletop line?
If you would like.
You can. Well, I could do one.
Yes, go ahead.
You want to pick one? You can pick a hard one. I'll be on the spot.
Where or who do you turn to when you need good advice?
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests. When I need good advice, I usually turn to my grandma. I guess because, well, one of the big reasons I probably turn to her is because she's always really nice to me. She kind of takes my side. So she's somebody I definitely turn to. Aside from her, just general family like my mom, maybe my siblings, sometimes my peers, my friends. Lawrence gives pretty good advice. He's my mentor here, so he's somebody that I get advice from. But I guess I kind of seek advice out. Like, people use the internet a lot and stuff, and just earlier today I was really getting into this motivational speech that Arnold Schwarzenegger, I don't know if I said that right, was giving on in this video, and it was really good, and it had a big impact on me. So I got advice in that kind of way, and I'm always reading about different people that I look up to, so that's kind of where I get my advice.
Go around the table topics. I think everyone got to speak, which is great. It's always nice hearing from everyone. And congrats to our guests for getting up there the first time. It's not easy. It took me a couple of times to come in before I got up myself. So that's great. So we're done with table topics. Now we'll move on to the evaluation portion of our meeting, and that's going to be led by our general evaluator, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. We had one speech this evening that was given by Lawrence Crompton, and his evaluator is Diego. Do you have your report right here?
I'm ready.
Please come up and give us your report.
Thanks, Tom.
Fellow Toastmasters, I had a really great time evaluating Lawrence Crompton's speech. And I think if you haven't evaluated his speech before, you might go in thinking, oh, this is going to be really easy because he hits all the marks. It's just easy, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5s. And honestly, I would give you 5, 5, 5, 5, 5s, but I know that that's not what you're looking for. You want to know also what areas of improvement you can strive to better yourself in. And so I want to first go over a bit about, of course, so there are, I count at least 8 categories: clarity, vocal variety, eye contact, gestures, audience awareness, comfort level, interest, and well-researched. And I gotta say, I gave 6 of those categories five stars. Excellent work. 2 of them, I did not get 5s, but they were above. They were 3 or higher. So let's do some constructive criticism tonight. What I really liked how you opened your speech was illustrating a good example of bad speech making. You spoke very monotone, and you capitalized on that opportunity to engage in vocal variety, because within 1 to 2 minutes, you immediately picked up some energy and you started talking more actively and more interestingly. So that was a great way of you engaging the vocal variety, and that's what I gave you 5 stars for. Eye contact, what I really liked was you had, like I brought up before in other speeches that I evaluated, there's a good diversity between sweeping the room and then focusing on a particular person or a particular half of the room. And I really liked how you gave equal attention to both sides of the lectern, both sides of the audience space today. I think one area of improvement I would recommend is something under the category of audience, interest. It says engaging audience with interesting, well-constructed content. And I think you did a really good job of engaging the audience as a solo speaker. And I think one area of growth for opportunity for you would be to pose a question to the audience for a few seconds and see if you can get some audience engagement into the speech. Or call out on someone. I've seen Tony Robbins before, like when he gives huge presentations, he doesn't volunteer someone, he goes to the nearest person and says, hey, I want some information from you to set up for an example that I'm going to give. So that's two knobs right there. So again, you did a great job engaging as a solo speaker, and now I encourage you to get some more audience engagement at your next speech when you find it appropriate. Okay. Again, the gestures were really well done. I really loved how when you said grab your interest, you actually grabbed air to illustrate that point. And you also did a good job of using big, wide motions, and then also, for example, when you said, now it's time to talk in a more quiet voice, you brought your hands closer together. So overall, I think this was a really great speech. You got 6 out of the 8 5 stars, and areas of improvement are interest and well-researched. And I can talk with you more specifically about that afterwards. But otherwise, great job overall. I really had a good time. Thank you.
Thank you, Diego. Very, very well done. For the timer's report, can you tell us if everybody qualified within the time limits?
Well, some of us went over. Lawrence did 7 minutes and 42 seconds for his speech. Table topics, although Heather was last, I put her on the top, so Heather did 1 minute and 15 seconds. Diego did 1 minute and 15 seconds. Cody did 56 seconds. I did 1 minute and 4 seconds. Yay me. Maurice did 1 minute and 3 seconds. Charles did 1 minute and 13 seconds. Tom did 59 seconds. Cheyenne did 1 minute and 1 second. Justin did 41 seconds. Tiffany did 32 seconds. Okay, 32 seconds. And Gretchen did 26 seconds. And Diego, as the first evaluator, did 3 minutes and 19 seconds.
Yes. Thank you, Sandra. Justin, the Marion's report?
Sure. So let me just start this by saying this is the first time I've done grammarian without the counter integrated into the roles, so it is a bit different. And whenever those roles were combined, I was always focused on counting and filler words, and everything else was secondary. So I feel like I could have done a better job about picking up on grammatical errors or maybe a few details here and there, but everyone did well overall. And Diego, since you were last, I paid the most attention, but I did notice that you repeat phrases occasionally, and that's something to work on. And as far as word of the day usage, Diego used the word of the day during his table topic, and Maurice used the word of the day during his table topic.
Thank you. Gretchen, Hawkins report?
Yes, I began tracking right from the top. So when Maurice was talking about the training, I caught an one and one and. When Lawrence was talking about pathways, I caught one when Heather was just, I think when you were just starting to talk about what it means to be a table topics master, you said one During Lawrence's presentation, there was one when you were introducing what the topic was going to be before your speech actually started. And then I caught one and one and then during the table topics, Diego said so once that I caught. You just speak very quickly, and sometimes when the so, you don't know if it really fits or if it is, and it's for everybody. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. It wouldn't distract me. If it wouldn't distract me, I don't usually count it. So Sandra had one and, Tom had one and one Cheyenne had two Tiffany had one I had two I think it was.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Heather said I guess once and two and then during the evaluation, Diego said and so once and so 3 times. I think that was it.
Excellent, thank you. So for the overall comments about the meeting itself, I did not see any chicanery going on, so we were very good there. In terms of the business meeting itself, it was very well conducted. We did start the meeting on time, and we did include the Pledge of Allegiance, which personally I like, because some clubs don't do that, so I appreciate that very much. I like the fact that you did recognize Diego's efforts in terms of membership, and Diego, you recognized the club's efforts in terms of membership, so that was very, very well done. Lawrence's speech was, you mentioned at one point in time that people would come in and sleep through your course. I don't think anybody would ever sleep through one of your courses, but I understood what you were talking about. And Diego gave an excellent evaluation of that speech. One thing that I would add to it, though, I did notice that for several times you were between the audience and the screen. And be aware of the logistics of what you're doing, the surroundings. So in our situation here, it's a little more difficult, but maybe moving the podium, the lectern off to one side so that people could see it, you could still go back and forth, and maybe have it be on the same side as the computer, so that you're not walking in front of the screen to change this picture.
I want to have something longer that the computer can be under.
Yeah, but you could also have turned it this way,
Under the
and
lectern.
then you have the
that
computer
would
right
work.
here.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you came out from behind the lectern. That's very
I
good.
could move the lectern completely away myself.
That was- But that's the only thing that I would add to it. So it was very, very well done. You always give excellent speeches. The table topic session was excellent. I love the questions, I love the responses, and thank you for participating as a guest.
Thank you for
We would
having
like
me.
to give guests the option to decide whether or not they want to participate, but it's always nice when the guest jumps in and participates. That was excellent. Thank you for doing that. One thing that, this is something that, you have a question, Charles?
When you're done.
Okay. And this is, I'm new to this club myself, so I'm going to ask this is whether or not this is something that the club does by choice or just is not aware. But proper protocol when the speaker is being introduced is that you continue the applause until the speaker reaches the lectern. And you never hand off the lectern, you never leave the lectern unattended. We've never had a problem with that. So that's, I guess, is a club decision as to whether or not you want to pursue that. The second thing is, when you are called upon to speak as an evaluator or give a report, that you stand in place rather than sit. So again, it's, I guess, a club decision as to whether or not they want to follow that procedure. The reason why I bring that up is one of the things that Toastmasters teaches you is how to conduct a meeting. And sometimes if you're in the audience and you're not conducting the meeting, you can still assist by prompting others to continue the proper protocol for the meeting. When you get into a higher level meeting, and you will, to put a meeting on, it just really helps the meeting to run professionally. If the people in the audience know what the proper procedures are and help support those procedures. So, but those are things that I need to learn. Again, might be new to the club. I love coming to this club. I really do. I enjoy this very much. This is one of the best clubs on the coast that I know of. And I haven't been to all of them. I've been to a lot of them. And you guys do it right. And I really like that about this club. So, thank you. It's wonderful. I'm sorry.
Might have been two double intentional chicaneries, not calling on me and then referring to the podium and the lectern. Excellent job referring to the lectern and always having people up there and giving it to someone else by shaking hands and referencing, clapping until they get there. You might kind of clarify for some of the new members and the guests the difference and distinction between it being a lectern and not a set podium. Otherwise, in evaluation of the evaluator, Diego did a fantastic job, great constructive compliments and points to consider for Lawrence, very well said. You might have improved the flow of your voice, whether it was stutter or repetition or there were some gaps in kind of the way you're talking sometimes that might have been smoothed out, a little better flow. And also, someone else was the eye counter. Without you having to point out that you kept messing up or saying, I did it again, you could have avoided that. And someone else would handle that and point it out later. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Actually, I have a quick educational overview myself, unless someone else has something. It's from the Toastmaster magazine. This was interesting on helping you enhance your memory. So I know I'm not the best at memorizing things, especially people's names. So I'm trying to work on that. So when someone introduces themselves, not so much focus on what I'm going to say, but making sure I remember the names. But from the magazine, they list 3. So attention to triggers. These are stimuli that attract and keep the audience attention in areas where it matters most. During presentation, the brain typically stops paying attention when it is habituated a stimulus, meaning we pay less and less attention to things that are predictable. So I guess try to make things a little more interesting, a little bit uncanny to stimulate the attention. The second one is memory magnets. These can be visual elements of text graphics that make content memorable. Use them to appeal to audiences, mental models, or to build associations. Emotions also drive action and can be memory magnets. So like Lawrence doing the kind of emotions as he went in to talk about getting quieter and closer. That's something that kind of sticks in at least my mind, this current. So try to create visual, whether it's with actual PowerPoint or body language, maybe props, things like that to help create memory magnets. You know, like Diego brought Tony Robbins, he'll do some crazy stuff like the little clap sticks and things like that, special effects, and it's hard to forget that once you see that. So, and the third one is decision drivers. It's one thing to get people to pay attention and remember, but they will act on your messages in the future. Persuasion requires mastering the skill of appealing to human motivational drivers. These drivers can include things like achievement, efficiency, autonomy, affiliation, prominence, freedom from worry, and other factors. Do some research to determine what drives a particular audience. So that was the 3 techniques for enhancing memory, and that was in this month's Toastmasters magazine. Do we get the award pins in?
They sent me a notice that they shipped.
Okay.
But they have not
So
arrived.
maybe next month we can give
One
out
step
some
at a time.
pathways
Yes.
pins for
Slow,
everyone
Lord, shipped.
that signs up. I don't have anything else. We have no awards.
Do we have any members that have joined and don't have pins? Because we do have the Toastmasters pins.
Okay, the Toastmasters. Yeah, we do have some members.
And 1 Catholic. But
Okay.
there's some Toastmasters pins. If you have new members.
So do we have any new members that haven't received a pin yet? Sandra, okay. Gretchen? All right, you guys can come up here. No problem.
I would like to ask, will I get that?
You should.
I want one.
You should eventually start sending them. They still do that, right? Even though they switched to Pathways, they still send the magazine?
Oh,
Yes.
the magazine, yes.
Yes, they
So,
They
you
have
know-
my personal address on my
Yes.
information, so
It will come to your personal address.
I need to redo that.
okay, yeah, because I remember that, I'm sorry, I'll get it before the meeting.
Okay.
They need to sidetrack us with it.
Okay, so everyone's got their pins that needed their pins. That I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone.